So, what is the best business model to start as a beginner? Well, imagine this is you navigating to the online business land, which represents the point in time where you start considering the idea of starting your own online business. Now, let's say you have a regular job that pays you $1,000 a month, which means you don't really have too much capital to invest in to starting your business. And you also don't have any previous business experience, and you can't afford to work hundreds of hours building a product before starting to get paid, meaning you have to get paid fast. Well, once you get to the online business land, you start to realize there's way more business models than you first expected. And all it takes for you to see is opening your YouTube homepage. People talk about making money with dropshipping, courses, Facebook ads, affiliate marketing, Amazon, funnels, coaching. Now the question is, which business model should you choose in order to have the highest likelihood of success given your current circumstances? Is it starting a dropshipping store, selling an online course, creating an app, investing in real estate, or none of the above? And before I give you the right answer, I actually want you to comment your answer below so that later on you can say, oh yeah, I knew that was the right answer. And the interesting thing is, no matter which one you choose out of them, they all have a negative 95% ROI rate, meaning only 5 out of every 100 people that get into them end up making any money with them. The other 95 people all lose money with these business models. Now, does this mean that you have a 95% chance of failing with all of these? Well, actually no, because there's actually one crucial variable that plays a part in this equation that nobody thinks about. This variable is what actually causes 95% of people who start that business model to fail. Let me explain. Right now, you're one of multiple different stages of your career. Maybe you're just starting out and you don't even have a job yet. Maybe you already have a job and some sort of experience here and there. Maybe you're already very experienced in a field and already made a lot of money as a result of it. The thing is that each business model have different barriers of entries and characteristics that play to the strengths and weaknesses of each career stage. And choosing the wrong business model for your specific career stage means they will amplify your weaknesses and drag your odds of success down from potentially 70% chances of success when you choose the right business model to less than 1% when you choose the wrong one. So with all that being said, how do you even evaluate and decide which one of these business models is the best to get started with? Essentially, how do you go from being a spectator watching from the sidelines to actually stepping foot on the field and successfully earning income online? This is what we're gonna evaluate and study in this episode, as well as the next 3 episodes. This is the remote revolution. You're generating leads or you're generating discernible ROI for your clients. As I said, I used to have a creative agency and I was making at the age of 17, 15 grand a month.
At the end of the day, the real power in business is subtraction, not addition.
Look, we are in fact in the best period ever to start an online business. While in the offline world, it takes decades to build something great, in the online world, it takes just a few years. That's why you see so many 20-something-year-olds making big boy money online. What used to take 20 years can now be accomplished in 2. And I mean, even myself, in the past 2 years, I went from making a very respectable $2-ish million a year profit in the business to now having my second back-to-back 8-figure year. That's because the whole situation we've been dealing with in the last 2 years has accelerated the adoption of the internet as the main way to do business by at least 10 years. And you can clearly visualize such acceleration by looking at the numbers from Zoom, the main video meeting platform in the world. The number of minutes of meetings held in the platform grew 42x from 2019 to 2021. There's more people joining Zoom meetings daily than there is the population of the United States. And today, when we talk about having a meeting, we expect for it to be online. What used to be an alternative channel to do business is now becoming the main one. That's why the time to start an online business is now. People are keen to do business online these days. And ladies and gentlemen, you have a very short window in order to accomplish this. This is not just something that you can leave to tomorrow. In our lifetimes, we only get 1 or 2 opportunities where the stars align. Everything is poised and ready. And I'm telling you, you have to seize this opportunity. However, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, because there's such an abundance of options of businesses to start, it actually brings along one massive problem. Before, people used to get stuck for not having enough information. These days, people get stuck because there's too much information. There's too many options out there, and too many options means there's too many decisions to make. And people will do everything they can to avoid important decisions. We do that because we're afraid to make the wrong decisions. We all are. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is, how do you take one right decision that's so impactful in your life that all the wrong decisions you have ever taken become irrelevant? So that way, you're not afraid of taking wrong decisions anymore. Look, I've been in the online game long enough to see the rise and fall of many different online businesses as well as business models. I've even experimented with many myself and even failed at a few. Throughout this journey, I've realized that the people who really succeed are the ones who are not afraid of making decisions, but also the ones who didn't take too many, but made just a few key decisions in their life, which outweighed all of the wrong ones that they ever took. And what I realized, and it took me a few years to get to that point, is that all the right big decisions had one underlying common factor: timing. They were the right decision taken in the right place at the right time. Everyone knows that getting into the right industry at the right time can make you very rich, whether that's real estate, whether that's stocks, whether that's crypto. We all know this. However, what most people don't realize is that there's actually two types of timing: market timing and career timing. Market timing relates to the overall environment and context that surrounds the business. As I said, now it's undoubtedly the best market time to start an online business, considering the huge shift from offline to online that we're all experiencing. And the other one is career timing. And this is really where 99% of people fail. Realistically, you already know that right now is the right time to start an online business. I mean, you wouldn't be watching this video otherwise. That's not any news for anyone. But the thing is, there are stages in your career, and you have to think about where on the career spectrum are you. Look, if you're currently at $1,000 a month and trying to pick a $10 million business, your odds of succeeding are slim to none. On the other hand, if you are at $10 million and start a $100,000 business, the business in and of itself will most likely succeed because you do have more than enough experience and capital needed to get it to succeed. However, it will most likely never get even close to the scale that you want. And that's all about career timing. Ladies and gentlemen, most people don't understand this, but the business that you start to get to $100 million is not the same business that you need to get to $10 million. In the same way that to get to $10 million, you need to have a different business to get you to $1 million, and same thing for $100,000. And what I realized is those huge once in a lifetime decisions, the ones where you look back and feel like the stars perfectly aligned for you, those decisions happen when market timing meets career timing. And when you use that to your advantage, this one simple decision will outweigh any of the other bad decisions you've ever made, which means you don't really have to stress about any of the wrong decisions, because in the long run, they don't really matter. As long as you match your career timing with the market timing, everything else just kind of becomes irrelevant. Now, before I show you what's the best online business model for the different career stages, I have to talk about a very real problem here. Most people think that the problem is taking the wrong decision, but as you just saw, that's not the case. The root problem is letting your fear of making a decision stop you from making a decision at all. This will get you stuck in life. But how do you tell if you suffer from this? Well, you find yourself working a job you hate, barely making any money, but you never seem to be able to get started with that side hustle that you know you've been thinking about for months and that you know that will allow you to quit your job. Or the exact same situation, but for people who are in college, studying something which they've realized that is not what they want in life, but they simply can't get started with that side project that has the potential of taking them out of their current situation. You feel like you're just wasting time, missing out on life. And I went through that exact same thought process while I was still in high school. And the funny thing is that I knew for a fact I could break out of that situation through an online business because I saw people succeeding on it every single day on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. And if other people were doing it, so could I. I just didn't know what was the way forward. And the fear of the unknown stopped me from making one of the most important decisions of my entire life. Ladies and gentlemen, why does this happen? Well, it's because you've been programmed from a young age to be afraid of making wrong decisions. I mean, what used to happen when you made the wrong decisions during a test in school? You get a bad grade with a big red X in your answer, and then you get home and your parents are mad at you. And now, next time you have a test, you get super nervous because you are now afraid to take the wrong decision again, and it becomes a feedback loop. The system is structured to make you afraid of making wrong decisions so that way you obey and follow orders. It turns you into a slave of your very own fears. And to make it even worse, now when you decide to pull the trigger and finally start your online business, you come across countless business models to choose from, which gets you even more confused. So that's why what we're going to do first in the remote revolution is we're going to clear up all the confusion surrounding online business models to the point where making a decision feels effortless. Remember, by learning how to make decisions that match your career timing and market timing, you will never be afraid to make a decision ever again. And not only that, but your chances of success can go from 1% to 70% because you're now making an informed decision. So if you want to reclaim ownership of your life, by finally being able to drop out of college or quit your job and make $5,000 to $10,000 a month online, make sure you watch this video until the end. So let's get into it. Now, these are the 5 most praised online business models: dropshipping, online courses, web apps, real estate, and a bonus one that I put in here, which not many people know about. Now, what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna use this chart to evaluate each one of the business models and figure out what's the best career stage in order to take advantage of it. We're gonna evaluate them based on 5 factors: transaction value, margins, upfront work, fulfillment, and upfront investment. Now, transaction value stands for how much a usual transaction price is at, as in the average price paid for such product or service. Margins is profit margins, aka what percentage of the total price of the product or service represents profit rather than costs. Upfront work is how much work is required to get the business started and running. Fulfillment is how much work is required to deliver the product/service. And finally, upfront investment represents how much money you have to invest to get the business off the ground before you ever start selling. Now, the way it's going to work is I'll position red dots on one of the multiple layers of this chart based on how attractive that business model is for the specific factors that we're judging. So the further out the layer, the better. For example, if the upfront investment is further out on the layers, it means that for that business model, there's not much upfront investment required, not the other way around. It's always based on how attractive such a factor is. So less attractive sits on the inner layer. More attractive sits on the outer further layer. So let's get started. Now, dropshipping is one of the most well-known online business model, and it attracts a lot of beginners because it's your typical e-commerce store, except you don't actually have to buy any inventory yourself. You ship everything from your supplier, which is usually in China, direct to your customer, meaning you don't have to manage any inventory in-house and you don't have to pay anything out of pocket for the cost of the goods. However, this is where most people are caught off guard. Just because you don't have to pay anything upfront in order to actually pay for the cost of goods doesn't mean that there's no upfront investment. In fact, there's quite a lot. For what, you might ask? Well, the products don't sell themselves. It requires marketing to sell them, and a lot of marketing. And the cost of marketing is what breaks dropshipping stores. Usually, anywhere from 40 to 90% of the price of the product is spent just on marketing to sell it. So by the end, you see zero profit. And this is for the successful products, by the way. In my agency, we have worked with a lot of dropshipping stores that are testing 15 to 20 products a day to find one that works, meaning you'll have to burn through a lot of money before ever finding a profitable product that you can scale. And a realistic investment to go through all of this testing is anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000. And that's why our upfront investment parameter here stays at the inner circle of our chart, which represents a big constraint for such business model. Upfront work stays at the same layer for the exact same reason, due to all the testing that goes into finding a profitable product. Same for the margin, which, as I said, can vary anywhere from 60 to 10% just for ad spend, not even considering the cost of goods. And when you add cost of goods into the equation, your final margins usually range from 30% to 5%, especially if you're operating at scale. So just remember that when anyone says they're making $100,000 a month online from dropshipping, a lot of times they're only actually taking home $5,000, $7,000 a month. And if you were to be making $10,000 a month with dropshipping, you could be taking home as little as $500 a month. And if that wasn't enough, there's also a low transaction value. Usually, items in dropshipping stores sell from $30 to $200. That means that getting to $10,000 a month in revenue, and that's revenue, by the way, not profit, you'd have to sell from 50 to upwards of 300 units a month. And just so you can visualize how much that is, I have this rubber duck here. Let's say you're selling rubber ducks in your store. This is 1 unit, this is 50, and this is 300. In order to sell this many ducks, or whatever your product is, you have to be highly skilled at marketing, media buying, and advertising. And lastly, we have scale. Now, this is one of the perks of selling physical products because it is scalable. So if you have a lot of cash to burn through and a lot of marketing experience in your niche, this might in fact be a good business for you. These are the type of individuals who are likely to succeed with dropshipping. So that's what our business model chart looks like for dropshipping. By the way, if you take Amazon FBA or just e-commerce in general, the chart for these business models would look very similar to this dropshipping one. And with that, we can conclude that dropshipping is an advanced business model for people who are at a stage of their career where they already have a lot of marketing experience as well as a lot of money to invest upfront. Now, does this mean that it's a bad business model and no one should get into it? No, not at all. In fact, this is a true story. I actually had a dropshipping client at my agency who wanted to buy Agency Navigator, my flagship course, so that way he could start his agency. And I told him, it's a bad idea because you guys are already advanced at marketing and you already have a lot of cash. So you might as well just keep growing and keep scaling your dropshipping business. For him, he was an advanced business owner. So I told him stick to an advanced business model. Now you, as a beginner, should definitely avoid using it. Now, before we get into next business models, just in case you didn't know, this is actually the first video in a 4-part series called The Remote Revolution, which I'm hosting from the 11th to the 18th of July. Now we're actually giving away some mind-blowing prizes to actually help students kickstart their businesses. Now, in case you want to run for the free giveaway, there's actually a link in the description with all the details on how to enter. Now, the next business model that we're going to evaluate is creating a web app, or for some people, a software company. One thing I forgot to mention earlier on, for anyone who doesn't sort of know my business background, pretty much every single business model that we're talking about here, I've either done in the past or I still do to this day. The last business model, dropshipping, I've never dropshipped, but I actually have my own e-commerce brand called Gadzhi, where we actually make these beautiful bespoke blue light blockers. Actually, in fact, let me grab one. By the way, sorry for interrupting the video, but I really quickly just want to mention our online business Kickstarter giveaway, because I'm actually giving away a MacBook Pro 16-inch, a MacBook Air, an iPad Pro, as well as 3 pairs of AirPods Pro. And I'm doing this for a few of the Remote Revolution participants. And just like everything we do at Gadzhi, this isn't going to be your ordinary giveaway, because we want to reward people who watched every single episode of the event and actually took action on it. So we decided for you to be eligible for the giveaway, you need to be worthy. Now, how do you prove that you're worthy? Well, we've actually put together a quiz based on the contents of the first 3 episodes of the Remote Revolution. These questions are going to be very in-depth and specific, so make sure you are taking notes throughout this entire event. And I'd even suggest re-watching each episode at least once. And that's because the first 3 episodes are all going to be taken down on Sunday, so you can never watch them again. Now, the quiz comes out on Friday the 15th, right after the 3rd episode launches. And you'll actually have until Monday the 18th to complete it, which is 2 hours before the 4th episode releases. Now, if you get a score of 70% or higher, you're eligible for the giveaway. And the winners will actually be announced live on my Instagram on the 19th of July. So make sure you're following me on Instagram, so that way you know that you don't miss the announcement. And with all that being said, let's get back to the video. So these right here are the Gadzhi G1s. And you can see, it's not any print on demand, drop shipping stuff. These are beautiful blue light blockers that you wear to protect your eyes while you're working, or, to make sure that you're not getting too much blue light before you sleep. And this is actually a part of the summer collection, but as you can tell, beautiful packaging, everything, etc., etc. And I'll put these to the side for now. But the reason I say this is because although I didn't drop ship, I dealt with the annoyance of the fact that my gross margins, aka when I sell them for 85 pounds, they literally cost me 40 pounds to produce. So let's say with import dues and everything, it's costing me around 45 pounds. I'm selling them for 85. I'm making a 40 pound difference. In order to just make 10,000 pounds a month profit, I would have to sell 250 units. And in order to sell 250 units, I have to pay for that in advance. And bear in mind, I'm very lucky. I have a big audience that, we don't need to do any marketing. But for the normal person, they would have to market it. And that already eats up basically the rest of your profit. And so you can really start to see now why it's such a difficult business model for beginners. And the next business model that we're talking about here, which is creating a software company or a web app, I have a lot of experience in too. Now, once again, it's not going to score many points because the transaction value is usually extremely low. The margins are terrible because the development cost, the upfront work will take months, even years to develop a good software. Same thing applies for upfront investment. It's a lot of capital required to put together a team of developers, and fulfillment is hard because you always have to be updating the software, and it takes way more work than most people would imagine. And as a result, this business model is for people who already have a lot of experience, ideally with IT, and a lot of money to burn for months or potentially even years before ever getting profitable. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of you may know, I actually own a software company called Agency Flow with my co-founder. And anyone that knows me knows that I hate business partners. So although I'm an advanced entrepreneur, I have a lot of money, a lot of experience. I didn't even want to get into software game without a business partner because the technical side of it, the IT, the actual code and software development, that's a world that I didn't understand and is extremely complicated. And let me tell you something very honestly. With my software company, it's only recently in the last couple months, and it's been live for coming up to a year now. It's only recently that we've started to be profitable. I have a team of 12 developers. I have a business partner who literally closed his $30,000 a month agency to work full time on this. He has to take a salary. There's Amazon Web Services. There's so many things that, as I said, if you're a beginner entrepreneur or even intermediary entrepreneur, heck, even an advanced entrepreneur, this is probably one of the worst business models to get involved in and get started with. If you do it right, eventually you might be able to sell for a lot of money, but the big word there is might. So for the purpose of the Remote Revolution workshop, building a web app, avoid at all costs. And the next business model that we're going to talk about is real estate. Now, although it's not necessarily an online business model, it's one of the most talked about online. So I thought I would mention it here in case you were considering starting. Now, transaction value is very high, which is great, although margins most of the times are very thin, and there's a lot of upfront work required, even if you don't have to renew anything on the property, which by the way is rarely the case. You still have to deal with a lot of paperwork and difficult bureaucracy. Obviously, the upfront investment is massive. And as a result, this is a business model that should be better left to the people already making a fortune in other businesses. Even myself, I've made well over 8 figures net after tax. And even I'm only starting to get into real estate investing now. It is a very difficult business to start with a lot of risks involved. And I'm going to say something right now because to me, this is a very sensitive topic. I am genuinely, utterly disgusted by people out there who try to make real estate out as a good option for beginners. I have seen some of the most ludicrous, absurd stuff. I've seen people charging $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 for a beginner course on how to invest in real estate. Do these people really not stop and think, I'm charging a beginner $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 when I know in the bottom of my heart, they're gonna have, look, even if they get favorable bank loans, they're still gonna have to put $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 down on their first property. How these people sleep at night, I have no clue. It really is baffling to me. And as I said, I've been involved in this online space a long, long time. And I'm involved with pretty much all these business models because I understood market timing and career timing and when to deploy certain of these business models at the right time. Some of these more difficult business models, for example, starting a software company, I didn't start that until I'd made over $10 million. Starting an e-commerce brand, I didn't start that until I made over $5 million. Real estate now, I'm only getting into after I've made close to $25 million and actually kept 10 of that after tax. So yeah, that's a slight little tangent, but some of the stuff in the online space, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to throw this remote revolution workshop, is because I'm not coming in here and saying, this is the best business model and do this and this and that. We're assessing each model using a formula and a strategy to have an unbiased look. And none of these business models, I'm saying don't do them. I'm saying do it in 2-3 years time like I did. But for now, let's evaluate what's practical and make sure that it matches your career timing as well as market timing. Now, can you guys spot a common trend between all the businesses that we've evaluated so far? They all require a lot of cash upfront to burn through in order to make it work. And it's not your sort of standard investment, for example, like the stock market or real estate, where you're actually buying in order to rent out for many, many years to come. And when you're doing that, you might be getting a 6%, 8%, 12% year-on-year return. Those investments make sense once you have millions and millions of dollars. But at least the thing is, they are kind of really passive in its form. Everything that I've talked about so far takes a lot of money upfront and isn't really passive. And that's why I want to present this last business model to you. Now, the last business model that we're going to evaluate today is actually the business that I started while I was still in high school and still run to this day. And different than the majority of online business models you see out there, this one isn't anything new and it doesn't have anything sexy to it. Because rather than being built on a new technology or a new trend, it is based on timeless principles. It has been around for probably thousands of years now. And this business model is simply providing high ticket services to other businesses, namely having an agency. The way this works is you simply identify a problem that a specific industry has, and then you solve that problem. And you do that over and over and over. For example, when I first started, I used to shoot content for local businesses. Now I run ads to e-commerce stores. It's extremely simple, and there isn't really anything fancy to it. And this is why I consider this to be the best business in the world for people who are just starting out, don't have too much money to invest up front, and want to get to $10,000 a month as quickly as possible. So let me show you in practice. When it comes to transaction value, this is by far the best model. Why? Because instead of having to sell dozens of units every single month to get to $10,000 a month, all you need is 5 to 10 sales. And not monthly sales, just one-time sales. Because with this business model, you charge recurringly. So if you're creating content, you can create X piece of content in a month and charge a retainer fee for that so that your client gets new content every single month. And this way, you never have to start from zero every single month, just like you'd have to if you had an e-commerce store, for example. With an agency, you're always building on top of what you built the previous month. That's why the path to $10,000 a month with it is so straightforward. And there's a bunch of services you could offer here that would allow you to charge anywhere from $1,000 to upwards of $10,000 a month per client recurrently. And in video 2, I'll give you a full list of the best services to offer that will allow you to charge the highest prices recurringly every single month. Now, the next logical question that people have when they hear all this stuff is, well, I don't know how to actually deliver the services to the client. And that's a very valid point. And that's why in the second episode of Remote Revolution, I'm going to show you how to actually utilize the skills that you already have to make $1,000 to $10,000 a month online profit. Or even better, the real beauty of running an agency is that it's an actual business based on actual business fundamentals different than most of the online businesses out there, which means you can outsource the delivery to someone else and have everything done for you using a little hack that I've called contractor arbitrage. And I'll explain that in detail in video 2 of the Remote Revolution. That way, you don't actually have to possess the skills yourself and you can just focus on working on the business rather than in the business, which again is the reason why most people spend so much time working without ever getting paid with other business models, because they're working in the business rather than on the business. And when it comes to margins, that's our cherry on top. If you're delivering the services yourself, it means you're now part of a very exclusive club in the online business world, which is the businesses that operate at 100% earnings margin, meaning you get to keep every single penny of what you make. And that's why starting an agency is such a big opportunity. In business, it doesn't matter how much you make, it matters how much you keep. We don't care about revenue, we care about profit. We care about cash in our pocket. And the numbers you see for pretty much all the other businesses, they're always revenue. I'll be candid with you. It's not actually that hard to get to $1 million a year business with only single digit profit margins. But quite frankly, why would you do that? Why would you have to deal with all that complexity and stress to see $100,000 a month enter your bank account, but only be left with $5,000 of that? All while we have students who are pocketing the same amount of money with just 2 to 3 clients a month. And by the way, that happens every single day at Gray Agency, my education company. I mean, I'll literally open up the Instagram of Agency Navigator, our flagship program, and let's pull up one of the latest student success stories. As you can see here, we have Stella, who's pretty stoked about signing her first client at $1,500 a month in her first 2 weeks with this business model. With that being said, you don't actually need a course to accomplish the same, because in episode 2 of the Remote Revolution, I'm going to show you the 6 activities you need to do in order to accomplish the same thing that Stella did. Finally, let's get into upfront work. I spent a lot of time calculating how much time it'll actually take to get this off the ground, and you might be expecting me to say 3 hours. Well, no, the answer is 40 hours. You need to put in approximately 40 hours to be making anywhere from $500 to $2,000 a month every single month. And if you put in an extra 40 hours, and by the way, that's one time, so that doesn't mean every single week or anything. That just means an extra 40 hours on top that you actually committed to the business. You can get an extra $500 to $2,000 a month recurring. And you can do that again and again and again. And in video 2 of the Remote Revolution, I'll break down exactly why it takes exactly 40 hours to get your first pay, as well as give you the action plan so that way you can start getting paid next week already. And that's why this is the perfect business model for beginners. Starting an agency was that big right decision in my life back when I was 16 that completely changed my life situation and led me to where I am right now. If we look back at our chart overlay, you're going to see that the vast majority of business models concentrate at that top right corner, where they're a best fit for people who already have experience and already have money. However, that's only around 1% of people. That's why over 95% of people who try to start an online business fail. The vast majority never even get started, and the ones that do try to start with a business model that would only work for 1% of the people. Ladies and gentlemen, it's madness. It's a recipe for disaster. If instead they chose a business model that fits their career timing, their chances of succeeding would skyrocket. And it was all about timing for me as well. Back when I was 15, I used to personal train my friends' parents and would try to sign clients in the gym. I mean, it was okay. I made like $1,000, $2,000 a month. I had 100% margins and I was selling myself as a service. But it took a lot of time and it wasn't particularly enjoyable. And most importantly, it wasn't a real business. I couldn't step away anytime I wanted to. Then I started a content creation agency, which is when I started seeing my first glances of success because it was the right business for my career timing. However, it was not exactly the right market timing for that service, which basically put a cap on how much I could make. It was only after realizing this that I decided to start transitioning to an advertising agency. And that was the decision that perfectly matched market timing and career timing for me. And when that happens, success comes knocking on your door. Having my agency as my cash flow business not only allowed me to finally quit school, rent my own place at the age of 17, pay for expensive vacations, take care of my mom, but also gave me the financial freedom to then go ahead and start my e-commerce brand, then the software company. And then even more recently, I've launched one of the highest globally ranking NFT projects in the world. And I succeeded in all those different businesses because I knew I was starting all of them at the right market timing and career timing. Would I have succeeded if I started my e-commerce business before starting my agency? No. Same for my software company and same for the NFT project. Knowing how to properly choose the right business model for the different stages of my career is the thing that helped me go from 100K to a million to 10 million, and now from 10 million, making my way up to 100 million. And when you acquire the ability of taking decisions that match career timing with market timing, you become a master of your own fate. You get to write your own future, and you'll never be a slave to your fears ever again. So look, now that you know exactly what the right business model is for your career timing, the only thing left to do is execute on it. You have to get started. The thing that's stopping you right now is inertia. And the thing that defeats inertia is momentum. That's why the remote revolution is a 1-week workshop. It's intense because intensity breeds disruption. So if you want your life to be disrupted in the best way possible, now is the time to start taking decisions. In the next video of this event, which premieres on Wednesday, I'm gonna give you a 6-step action plan for you to start making money with this business model in a matter of 27 days. That's all you need to get started. The link for the YouTube premiere will be in the description, so make sure you go ahead and click on it and turn on the bell notifications. That way you get notified when it goes live, and it's also important for the giveaways. Remember, this is only the beginning, and this is the remote revolution.